Good morning. This is X-Pulse AI Morning Mix. It's Tuesday, July 21st. Today, AMD makes a serious rack-scale push into Azure, Google's rumored new Gemini chip, Microsoft's $2.5 billion enterprise adoption blitz, plus a few fast movers. Orion's here. Ready?
Ready, let's roll.
We start with infrastructure. CNBC reported on July 20th that AMD launched Helios, its first rack-scale AI system, and Microsoft is already a customer. What's the headline?
AMD is moving from selling chips to selling the whole rack. Helios is positioned straight at Nvidia's rack-scale dominance, and Microsoft deploying it in Azure is the credibility stamp. CNBC also says Microsoft will add new Azure instances using AMD's latest Venice CPUs.
2 new Azure instances? What are they aimed at?
One is targeted at agentic AI and data pipelines. The other is aimed at semiconductor design workloads. The interesting part is Microsoft is buying into an AMD end-to-end stack, compute, system design, and cloud productization, rather than treating AMD as a backup plan.
CNBC also mentioned early Helios customers. How meaningful is that list?
Reportedly, Meta, OpenAI, and Oracle are in the early customer set. If that holds, it signals real interest in diversifying away from a single supplier. Dry joke, competition is back. Your procurement team is smiling.
Staying on hardware, Hindustan Times reported on July 20th that Alphabet is building a custom AI chip called Frozen V2 to boost Gemini efficiency. What are we hearing?
The reporting frames Frozen V2 as an in-house inference-focused chip meant to make Gemini faster and more power-efficient, and reduce dependence on third-party hardware. The key phrase is better token throughput per watt, which is basically the cost knob everyone wants to turn.
Is this mostly about cost or control?
Both. Cost shows up immediately in margins, but control is strategic. Supply, roadmap timing, and custom optimizations for your own model stack. It also fits the broader pattern. Major model vendors increasingly want their own silicon path, not just rented GPUs.
How should listeners interpret the stock pop mentioned in the coverage?
Markets like anything that sounds like lower inference costs and more defensible moats. But chips are a long game. Design to deployment takes time, and software integration is the real work. Still, if Gemini gets cheaper per query, that changes the competitive pressure across the board.
On the enterprise side, Forbes reported on July 20th that Microsoft is committing $2.5 billion and redeploying about 6,000 staff to help customers adopt AI. What's the real move here?
Microsoft is treating adoption as the bottleneck, not model access. $2.5 billion plus 6,000 people says, we'll do the hard, unglamorous integration work. It's a push to turn AI into recurring services revenue, especially for Azure and the Microsoft software stack.
Where does this land inside a company? Technology, finance, operations?
All of it. These programs typically cover data plumbing, security, governance, and getting real workflows into production. Many firms can demo copilots, fewer can measure impact and keep it compliant. Microsoft staffing up suggests the services layer is where budgets are actually unlocking.
Any risk this becomes expensive consulting in a hoodie?
Sure, if outcomes aren't measurable. The win is when projects move from pilots to standardized platforms and repeatable playbooks. If Microsoft can package adoption into templates and tooling, this becomes leverage, not headcount drag.
Model news from China. AP News reported on July 20th that Moonshot AI suspended new subscriptions to Kimi K3 after overwhelming demand. What happened?
They opened access to open-weight Kimi K3, demand spiked, and capacity hit the ceiling, so they paused new subscriptions. It's a very modern problem. Your model goes viral, and suddenly you're an infrastructure company, whether you wanted to be or not.
Does this say more about Kimi's capability or about scaling pain?
Both. Strong adoption suggests the model is competitive on capability and cost. AP frames it as aiming at Anthropic and OpenAI. But the pause highlights how hard it is to provision inference and support at scale, especially when your pricing encourages heavy usage.
What should we watch for next?
2 things: how fast they restore signups and whether they change pricing, quotas, or hosting options. A pause can be a temporary hiccup, or the first sign that demand economics are outrunning supply.
Fundraising with a big number. CNBC reported on July 20th that Cambridge-based CuspAI raised $450 million, with Jeff Bezos investing in support from the UK government, plus a consortium with Nvidia and Samsung. What's the news first?
It's a major capital injection and a major set of industrial relationships. Alongside the round, CuspAI announced a chemical research consortium with Nvidia and Samsung aimed at accelerating new materials discovery, especially materials relevant to chip making, and they're planning international expansion.
Remind us, what does CuspAI actually do?
Materials discovery, using AI models to search chemical space and propose candidate materials with desired properties. Think better dielectrics, novel conductors, or manufacturing-friendly compounds. The pitch is shortening R&D cycles that traditionally take years of lab iteration.
Why do Nvidia and Samsung show up here?
Because materials are a constraint on the next generations of compute. If AI can help find manufacturable improvements, faster, cheaper, more heat-tolerant, then it compounds across the entire hardware stack. It's one of the few AI for science plays with direct industrial pull.
A few more developments worth your attention. Bloomberg reported July 20th that ZAI completed a giant data center running only Chinese-made chips. What does that signal?
It signals China's push for end-to-end AI independence is getting more operational. If ZAI can train GLM models at scale on domestic silicon, it reduces exposure to restricted foreign GPUs and pressures local ecosystems to mature fast, from compilers to networking.
In policy and measurement, Rayleigh News reported July 20th the director of the U.S. AI Standards and Innovation Center resigned, and Fortune had OpenAI CFO Sarah Fryer pitching useful intelligence per dollar. What connects those?
Standards leadership churn can slow shared testing and compliance norms, while ROI metrics push companies to self-audit with harder numbers. Fryer's framing is basically, don't buy AI, buy measurable output per dollar. Without strong standards, internal measurement matters even more.
And in the applications and experiments bucket, TechCrunch on Infinity's $15 million seed, the LA Times on Orange County workflow startups, Forbes on an AI-run CEO experiment, plus Netflix's interpositive price tag. Give us the quick read.
Infinity is building inference software that targets Nvidia by default, tools not models, backed by Turing Capital and researchers tied to OpenAI and Anthropic, per TechCrunch on July 20th. LA Times on July 19th says investors want regulated workflow translators. Forbes on July 20th, Skyfall AI wants an AI CEO. Netflix paid $587 million for Interpositive, per TechCrunch on July 19th. Hollywood buys the tooling.
That's XPulse AI Morning Mix from XPulse for Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. Share it with someone who'd find it useful. See you next time.